Coming up today on the Nice Guys on Business.
When you're starting out, you have time. You don't have a lot of money. So when you're starting out, you want to do almost everything. You want to get rid of the stuff you really suck at ASAP, but you want to do almost everything so that you can do it first, you understand, so that when you bring someone in, you have some level of guidance you can give them. Now, you want to bring in someone who's obviously much better than you are and let them be the expert. So you don't want to have to figure out the how, but you want to do enough of it so when you're having a conversation with them, you can at least point them in the right direction. But I think you need to get those people on ahead of when you need them. Otherwise, you end up buried in all this work that you're not great at and you don't love doing. And that's fast track to burnout land, which you do not want to be in.
Get it straight, Buster. I'm not here to say please. I'm here to tell you what to do. And if self-preservation is an instinct you possess, you better do it and do it quick. I'm here to help. If my help's not appreciated, then lots of luck, gentlemen. If I'm curt with you, it's because time is a factor. I think fast, I talk fast. I need you guys to act fast if you want to get out of this. So, pretty please, with sugar on top. Listen to the Nice Guys on Business podcast. Go from where you are now to where you could be. Get expert tips to grow your business, to be more productive and more efficient, whether you're trying to build influence, grow your community, or make it rain. Best-selling author of Nice Guys Finish First, Doug Sandler, can lead the way. The Nice Guys on Business is produced by Turnkey Podcast Productions. Now, here's your host, Doug Sandler.
All right, Nice Guy community, meet Jordan Labelle. Sounds like a great stadium name. A guy with more than 15 years of experience in a variety of industries, just like yours and mine, all in the name of helping out business owners. He's been through the trenches himself, starting with his own ventures and teaming up with fellow founders to build something great. Now, whether it's a company that he's trying to take from a cozy 30-employee stature to a bustling 400-strong team, or pulling together a top-notch crew from the ground up, Jordan's been there and he's done that. He's all about shaping up businesses, tweaking their structures, fine-tuning processes, and pushing them towards a bigger and better future. But what really gets him going? We're going to find out that today. It's seeing strong founders go from good to great. And he's going to talk about that. Jordan, I'm excited to chat with you. Welcome to the Nice Guys on Business podcast.
Thanks, Doug. That was quite the intro.
I told you to
said it better myself.
I'm going to try to figure out how to put the stadium noise. If I could figure out how to get that all into the production, the stadium noise, the crowd goes wild.
Love it.
When you were in second grade and you were growing up, you probably didn't say, you know what, I'm going to just be a master coach and teach people I'm going to be a fractional COO and teach them how to build. Like, what were you always an organizational guy? Did you go around school saying, I'm going to teach everybody to follow the rules? I mean, like, what was your early beginnings in this?
Oh my goodness. It's funny enough because we have kids now and my daughter is very much like me. So I get to see myself over again, essentially. And you know what? I was a rule follower. I was one of those kids who knew the rules, liked the rules, didn't want to go too far out of them. But I noticed the wild card for me was I hated when we had to do something because that's the way we always did it. A rule was fine, but if it made no sense, I had a real problem with it. So that's where almost this like systems organizational rules based meets with like entrepreneurship and break the rules. I like rules that make sense and help you move faster. I hate rules that slow you down and stop you from doing cool stuff.
Don't you love when you talk to somebody that is in, let's say, a position of customer support and they say, I'm sorry, sir, that is our company policy. It's like, pardon the expression, but just fuck company policy. Because that's not, I mean, if I'm a customer and I'm telling you I have a problem, can we fix the problem and not rely upon a book that I did not get a copy of, ahead of time? With what our rules are. Have you always been entrepreneurial sighted?
Yes, but in different ways. My sister and I, growing up, would have, this was the real keystone moment for me. We'd have little garage sales at the doors of our bedrooms. So we like set up the things that we no longer wanted and we'd sell them to each other. And right from an early age, I just loved the idea of like finding ways to like take the things you had and make something with them. And I don't think I realized till later that it was really this entrepreneurial mindset from early. At first, I thought it was just things I did as a kid. But looking back, you can really see that pattern, that with that lens on, you can see it. Like, okay, that was step one. This was step two. This is when I realized that like you could go outside the box and be successful. And this is putting it all together.
All right, so this might be a challenging question for that guy that was setting up the garage sale in front of his door. But did you get inspiration from family members? I know your sister was your competitor in that case. So, but
Yeah.
did you get inspiration from genetically, or do you think that you just came across this? Anybody else in your family like you?
Not really, which is really strange. All my entire family is education, pretty much, like principals, accountants for the school division, teachers, like you name it, pretty much all the way through the bloodline, teachers. So somehow I've now broken this mold of teaching, where it is an element of teaching. I love working with helping people learn new things, understand new things, but it's this business mindset of it, of like not so much by a strict program or curriculum and more really just understanding. Like I just have a thirst for understanding, which lets me help people see how to move forward. So carrying it on a little bit, took a bit of the education, but also just I think I was, yeah, I wanted a little bit more than the prescribed curriculum or way of doing things. That was really what got to me.
Well, your sister who was directly across the hallway from you, did she go into the entrepreneurial world, or did she stay in the education world?
She's on her way to entrepreneurial. She got all of the creative genes. I got the business creative genes. She got the traditional creative genes. She writes amazing books. She can bake incredibly well decorated cakes. She can sing. She can draw. She can like you name it, like traditional creative. She can do it. She could make tons of money doing any one of those things. I think she's finally getting to terms with like which one of these things does she want to be great at. And I know, give her a couple of years, you're going to be hearing her name all over the place too.
Oh, nice. And that is a loving brother that said that. And even in spite of the fact that you probably beat her out on every garage sale that you did in the hallway.
There are, yeah, I've learned to become a more ethical salesperson than I was back then to my sister. So she definitely caught some bad ends of deals back then, and I'm sure I won't tell them for her sake because some of them I'm sure she wished she wouldn't have gotten fleeced on.
I'm sure that you grew into the wise, learned, schooled business entrepreneur that she always hoped that you would be.
Yes.
Talk to me about, I've read this book several times. It's by Gay Hendricks. It's called The Big Leap, and he talks in that book about staying in your zone of genius. You have the zone of genius, the thing that you really excel at, and then you have the zone of competence, the stuff that you're good at. You could probably, in my case, I can open up a spreadsheet, but God, if I
Yep.
ever see myself in a spreadsheet or working, and I know I'm in the wrong place, what would you say is your zone of genius?
I love this so much. One of the few books that I'm reading this year over and over is called Who Not How, which is essentially same concept, a little bit different.
Hmm.
Um, it just makes so much sense. You got to be focused on what you're best at. So for me, that really it took me a long time to get to this. I always thought it was never the execution or the tactical. And I always thought that meant I wasn't good at doing work. But what it really meant was I'm
Right.
really good at seeing the reasons to do work or the systems and processes you can use and create to do work more effectively or the strategy to accomplish this big vision or goal. When it comes to the day-to-day execution of that, I'm not the person you want. I can help set it up so that other people can do it really well. I can look at what's being done and find out very quickly, there's the bottleneck. That's your pain point. Let's work on experimenting on a bunch of different ways we can try solving that pain point. But you don't want me being the person typing the emails, writing the code in your website, designing your creative. You want me strategizing how to do those things. And it took me a long time to get to it, but that is it. That's strategy and operations, those elements, that's where I'm at my sweet spot.
Well, let's talk to the entrepreneur that's in our audience that is struggling with that, where they say, "That's funny." I'm looking at I have these AI companions, and for some reason, it gave me a thumbs down. I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't do it. I didn't say anything wrong, but it wasn't. I know it wasn't on purpose. If you did it, if I did it, I have no idea what happened. Nice guy community. Don't worry about any of that stuff unless you're watching the video. And by the way, nobody's watching the video because this is an audio podcast. But let's talk for a moment to the entrepreneur that's out there that says, Jordan, I'm willing to invest money in my business for that staffer, that task person, the VA, the administrative person. I'm willing to invest in that when I start making money. I personally come at it from the perspective of that's the wrong time. You need to do it now, even though it's going to hurt. All of those years that Strick and I, my partner in my production business, spent paying our staff before we had even gotten a paycheck. I'm not saying that's good, but I don't think that there is a better way to do it other than that. But I'd love your perspective on that, though.
Yeah, I'm a huge believer in you got to do things ahead of when you think you need them is one belief that I have. So I totally agree. When you need them is too late. Now, obviously, that time's better than waiting another month or two. So
Right.
like anytime you do it is better than waiting longer. The second piece is though is that I love to frame it this way is when you're starting out, you have time. You don't have a lot of money. So when you're starting out, you want to do almost everything. You want to get rid of the stuff you really suck at ASAP, but you want to do almost everything so that you can do it first, you understand, so that when you bring someone in, you have some level of guidance you can give them. Now, you want to bring in someone who's obviously much better than you are and let them be the expert. So you don't want to have to figure out the how, but you want to do enough of it so when you're having a conversation with them, you can at least point them in the right direction. But I think you need to get those people on ahead of when you need them. Otherwise, you end up buried in all this work that you're not great at and you don't love doing. And
Mm.
that's fast track to burnout land, which
Oh
you do
yeah.
not want to be in.
No, I couldn't agree with you any more than that. I think that I spent 30 years as a career in the entertainment business doing so many things that I should not have done. And when we came over and built this production business, starting in 2014, 2015, we what's the word? The discipline from us was we are only going to spend time doing the things that we are good at. If we ever spend time outside of the stuff that we're not good at, it's wasted time, and it's actually it's time for burnout. It's a time suck that will probably go down in flames doing that. When we
Yeah.
really tuned in on that is where we went from a company of two people, both working 40 to 50 hours a week as a side hustle in this business, making very little money. When we finally said, let's just hire out people to do that, even if it costs us money, I would say in less than 90 days, it started to turn. And that's when the bigger ideas, what happens, you're the bottleneck in your business because you're doing everything and then you don't allow enough flow for you to start thinking bigger picture. Like I know one of
Yeah.
the things that you do, and you go into organizations and you help people strategize, and you become their let's say fractional COO of their organization. It gives them an opportunity to stay where they need to stay, which may be in big picture thinking. Is that fair?
It's exactly it. It's really understanding how to leverage the best of what you have. So one thing I ask everybody to do when I start working with them is figure out like what are they great at and they love doing. That's really key. It's not just what you're great at because some people are great at something and they hate doing it.
Mm-hmm,
They're
mm-hmm.
really good at it, but please stop it.
Well, that's called the zone of excellence. You're really good at it, but it's not your zone
Yes,
of genius. It's not the thing that you should be doing in your business, even though you're really good at it, but you hate doing it.
exactly. So some of those things you have to do early on, like I said, like you can't replace everything right away because money is a limiting factor to a certain degree. But that's exactly it. The more that these founders know what their strengths are as fast as possible and where their areas of where they're getting drained or where they're doing something really ineffectively, the quicker they can bring in people to help shore those up. And they don't have to be full time. They can be fractional. They can be
Mhm.
freelance. They can be contract. You have so many options on how to solve this problem. But continuing to do it yourself forever is not going to lead you to success. It's going to lead to burnout. It's going to lead to all sorts of problems that you're going to regret later on. And I think people don't realize it because you don't realize it till you've done it and you're putting it off doing it because you're scared to do it. Is that typically your expectation is I pay for this thing or person, I'm going to lose money for a long time until I go to break even. What
Yeah.
really happens is because they've now freed themselves up to do more of what they're great at, their business accelerates so much faster that the payoff period is so much shorter than they ever thought it was going to be.
So, nice guy community. Before we continue on with the interview, I just want to give you just a little clue as to what's coming. By the end of this interview, Jordan is going to share a special link that he has provided just for our community, so that you have access to some really good tools that I think will be highly valuable for you. So make sure you stay tuned to the towards the end of the interview. That way, they can screw it. They got to listen to the rest of this conversation, Jordan. I can't give them all the goodies right now, and this is too good a
No, not
conversation.
yet.
I want to talk for a second just about the discovery of this being your your gift. I know that you did the garage sale in your hallway, and that was a good indicator. I know that you enjoyed this process. When did you kind of know that this was your gift that you could actually make a living at? Because there's so many people, I'm sure, in our community, side hustlers or entrepreneurs that haven't quite left their full-time gig yet. What's the signal that they know that this is like, this is their gift? What was your gift, and how did you know when it was time to make it a full-time effort?
Yeah, I think it happened for real so I've always known I wanted to do something on my own. I thought I needed to give it time. I needed to build up experience, et cetera, et cetera. Wasn't sure what I wanted to do. All the typical things people tell themselves about running their own business. And then a couple of years ago, at my previous company, we did a program to essentially assess a version of your zones of excellence or zones of genius. And in that, there's a lot of education there around how that execution and tactical isn't everybody's strength. And that was like mind blowing to me. And the realization that this strategy and operations and really helping people with the systems, processes, and strategy of building a business was something that not everyone was strong with. Again, hindsight, obviously, like, why wouldn't that be the case? But as it is with everybody, when you're in the moment, you self-doubt and second guess, and this couldn't be something that's valuable. So that realization that this is a thing that not everyone is good at, and I love doing it and could do it all day and could spend hours and hours talking to people about these things. That was the realization that, like, okay, I know I have this gift to do this and this skill to do it, and not everyone has it. And then it was just a matter of finding the timing of really getting a couple of clients under my belt to help me prove the model of, like, your first couple customers are very hard to get. But once you have them, then you can start learning from them, and then you very quickly move it to, how do we scale this up? How do we make this a full-time endeavor? How do I start maybe bringing some people on and freelance contract, et cetera? And it really went from there. So I think the biggest piece of advice I could give people, though, is like, don't wait for the timing to be perfect. It never will be. It'll always be uncomfortable and scary. If you're feeling like it's really uncomfortable, do the uncomfortable thing. Find a way to do a small version of it that just gets you a little bit outside your comfort zone.
Oh my gosh.
You'll realize how much easier it is once you're there. It's way scarier before you get to that little step outside the comfort zone.
I think the expression for us was never let perfect be the enemy of done.
Oh, yes. I have a poster right here. It says imperfect action. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good.
Oh my
Just
God,
to remind me every single day, like, it doesn't need to be perfect. Just good enough is good enough.
It is so true. And it doesn't mean that you can't go back and fix it later, or it doesn't mean that, I think about the early episodes. I know you've been a guest on a bunch of, how many podcasts have you been a guest on just in the last, year or so?
You know what? It's like a variety of different types of media. So a couple podcasts, couple videos, couple interviews, couple live panels.
Just think about your that fledgling recording, either how nervous you were or how you said, God, I sucked. You look back and you're like, and I think about that, and I go back to my first episode 1, which was February of 2015. And I'm like, February of 14. No, February. I forget. It doesn't even matter.
Either
anymore.
way,
it was
almost
a long time ago. And I'm like, oh my God, we sucked. We sucked at this. And then I look back at episode 100 or 200, which is like, at some point you become a seasoned podcaster. And I think it's probably somewhere around episode 100 or 200. And I'm like, oh my God, we sucked. And I've even looked back to episode 1000 for us. And the same thing. It's like, we didn't suck, but we weren't anywhere near as good at the conversion of audience or whatever the conversion methodology, metric that we were measuring was. We weren't any good. And so everything is a learning experience. So never let perfect be the enemy of done. I wanted to ask you a question about, as coaches, because I guess I'm consider myself a coach when it comes to podcast strategy and monetization, influence building, and so forth. And you absolutely are a coach in your world. We oftentimes talk to people about the negative stuff, the stuff that they need to change, revise. Before we get into that, I want to share, because you asked a really good question in your prep questionnaire that you sent in. You said, "Hey, I'd love to be able to talk for a moment about the things that entrepreneurs that are doing that is right." And I'm like, you know what? Go to one of my founding principles, which is, catch people in the act. It's the act of doing something right, not the act of doing something wrong. So that was a long way of me saying, catch people doing something right. What are people doing that is right in this entrepreneurial space before we before we knock them off their pedestal?
Yeah. You know what? This is something I talk with every client. Before we end up working together, I say everything we're going to talk about here, we're only talking about because you've gotten your business to be this successful already. So if I give you feedback, if I point something out, that's not at all because you should have been doing it differently.
Right.
There is no book, there is no course, there is no certification. You cannot get the guide to being a successful business owner. So the fact that any of your listeners have any level of business, again, measure back. Before you started, you had zero business, and now you have more than zero business. That is a feat and an accomplishment in of itself. Every business is for its eternity going to have problems and things they want to make better. That's just a fact of life and business. So I think people need to recognize that more. Take a step back and realize, like, hey, I have a business. It generates money. My customers love the product that I provide for them or the service. That's a big achievement. A lot of people don't have that. So it's not always about I need to fix this because it sucks. It's I want to make this better to grow the success that I've already had. Just a little reframe can help a lot.
I always look at the, if I'm looking at financial reports or if I'm looking at something that a big company, a multi-billion-dollar company, and I look at the return and I'm like, oh, they only lost 100 million this quarter. I'm like thinking, all I have to do is make $1 and I've done better than they did this entire quarter or whatever. So
pat on the back.
Yeah, consider yourself successful if you're still in business, if you've grown your own business. All right, talk to me about. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, that's really it. Is like, if you're still getting at bats, congratulations. Like, you get a chance to make another shot at being successful. Like, you get a chance to do something different and try again and see if it gets better results. The only time you really fail is when you stop trying to do new things. I know that's cliche, but like, it really is true. People see it as like they're not where they wanted to be, and that's a failure. It's not. You're further ahead than where you were, and you still have a chance to make improvements. That's success. You just keep working at making it more successful now.
All right, let's talk about a starting point for someone that is in our community that is trying to figure out, all right, I hear what Jordan does. Sounds like he knows what he's talking about. Doug's got him on the show. They're talking about all this stuff. What's a good starting point for a conversation with you and a prospective client?
Yeah, so I break this down into 4 things, and I try to give away as much as I can of information because I'm really here to help work through making it happen and implementing it in your business. The concepts, like, I would love for people to just have these and use them. So I focus on 4 areas. One is, do you have the time to invest in working on your business? Typically, this is a big pain point of people are so buried in the day-to-day, like they're doing it all. They're working 60 hours a week. How could I possibly think about what I need to do to improve my business, let alone take the actions necessary? So first thing we look at is, how do we save some time so they have some breathing room and can work on their business?
So just nice guy community. If you are, I'm too busy to meet with Jordan, or I'm too busy to think about this, that's your first indicator that maybe there is an opportunity in here for you to have a conversation, because if that is your answer, maybe you're not in the right zone then. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's
and spoiler alert, that's part of what I'm going to send you all to help, is just make sure you got your time element covered off.
Got it.
And we'll circle back. This is a circular system. So 2, do you know your customers? The number of founders I talk to, and again, there's no shame or guilt in this. So you're not in the minority if the last time you talked to your customer was either never or so long ago you don't remember.
Right.
We just need to understand more about the customers you have already. Look for trends, patterns, get your metrics in place, understand your base, find your best customers, and then we start talking about how do we find more of them more consistently, more often? How do we make them buy longer, buy more, etc.? That moves through to strategy. So now we understand your customers, you have the time. What's the 1 or 2 things we're going to focus on so that we bring it into critical instead of all the possible? Yep. This is hard. Very critical and focused is a lot more achievable. And then we build systems and processes to scale what works. So we do a lot of experiments to figure out what will work and cause the success you want. And then when we find winners, we scale them up. And then circle back to the top. Okay, now where's your bottleneck for time? What skills are you now least good at that you should redelegate out to make up more time, to look at new customer segments, to build up new strategies, to build new systems and processes? Rinse, repeat until either you're sick of making money and growing your business and you're at the point where you're happy and now it's just about optimizing time and lifestyle, or whatever your goals are. But we can just keep working the system. I can teach you how to use it, and eventually you'll understand how to, like, get that growth when you need it.
What's nice about what you're saying is, as an entrepreneur out there, if somebody is in our community and they're through that cycle a couple of times, but just did it involuntarily, not realizing that they're going through that cycle, they found their own time, they've discovered the strategy, they've implemented, and they've made some more money. Now they're going back up to the top. If you are, no matter where you are in that cycle, there's an opportunity to learn. And it sounds like if you want to put yourself onto the conveyor belt of learning, create a system of creating the system. and that's exactly what Jordan does. What am I not asking you that I need to ask you about? Because I think some of these principles are key. I can't give everything away on this podcast, because then we'd have the Jordan Labelle podcast, which we'll talk about as well. But for now, what do we want to talk about with our community that I'm not asking you about?
This was my favorite question to ask people we were interviewing when I was hiring for my team at my previous company, is what question did we not ask you that we should have? I really think this is maybe unpopular. We'll see. Your community, please let me know. I think that a lot of business success comes down to just really solid principles and fundamentals. I think new shiny object syndrome is just prevalent, especially with shorter and shorter media and content, TikTok, Instagram Reels, etc. Everyone telling you here's a 60-second way to make your dreams come true. I've really started taking the approach of I kind of try to read books that have been around for 30 years. I read stuff that has stood the test of time, because those are principles, right? They're not they're not fads. They're not like the latest and greatest platform that exists today that didn't exist before. Those principles are true no matter what. And the more you can leverage the principles and understand them really well, then it doesn't matter what the current trend is. You'll know how to leverage it to get success. So I'm really, really big on principles and systems that not to change them. We should still be adapting, understanding what's new and new trends that are emerging, but we don't have to stay up to date on every single new thing that happens. It's more about understanding the principles and applying them to your method of choice of getting new business, of automating your systems, of using AI. But you don't need to chase everything new. Just understand the core principles of business. That'll take you 95% of the way.
All right, so we've given them some information. Now it's time for those in our community. If you are relating to what we're talking about, you're at a spot where you're either spending too much time doing stuff outside your zone of genius, you haven't created the right systems, you're not making the right amount of money, you're trying to figure it out, or you're just stuck and you don't know what to do to get out of stuck. Jordan has an offer for those in our community. So Jordan, now give us a little idea of what they have coming to them and what we can do to facilitate getting them to you.
Perfect. Yeah. So like I said, a little spoiler earlier on, I think everything starts with making sure you have enough time. So I put together some resources, a little bit of a video from me, a couple of worksheets, a visualization to really help you understand the value of finding time to work on your business instead of in it. Some people think that they know what it actually looks like or understand that it's valuable, but I've actually broken it down to just showing you, if you took your year-over-year growth and you took 4 hours every week to go build on your business and you think you could get even 2% a month growth because of it, A, it compounds, B, you're going to triple your growth than your standard growth. So I built a little visualization framework for people to actually put their own numbers in and just see the impact of saving some time to work on their business. Some idea on ways you can start delegating things off your plate to either others or delete them so that they just don't have to be done anymore, as well as a bit of a quick version of a skill assessment or strength finder to figure out, of all the things that are on your plate, what's most important and where are your skills and interests lowest, so you can find ways to take that work, get it off your plate, and that's how you free up your time. So it's essentially a little quick start guide to just free up 4 hours a week, even if you don't end up working with me, just so you can go find strategies and techniques to build your business intentionally instead of just hoping it happens or working really hard.
All right. So tell our community what's the best way for them to get a hold of this guide and these resources from you. And something's going on with your video, but I'm not worried about it for an audio podcast. So what's the best way for them to get in touch with these resources?
There we go. So I put together a landing page just for Nice Guys. It's going to be nice-guys on the end of my website, which I will just have in the show notes because me spelling it out is
Got it.
long and not necessary.
Yeah. Nice.
But yeah, it'll be just for everyone here for Nice Guys. It'll be a very simple enter your email and your name. That's all I'm going to ask you. Get the resources sent to you. I'll be able to follow up with you, ask if you have any questions. If you'd like to reach out and get a discovery call to just find out more about me, let me find out more about your business. I'd love to chat. I just, as you can probably tell, love talking business.
Yep.
So any excuse to, I'm up for it. And then from there, would love to just continue the conversation. So with you, if you use the tools and get a lot of value out of them, letting me know would be fantastic. If you want to know more about me and what I offer, also fantastic.
All right. All right. So we'll put a link in the show notes for that. Again, I don't even know how to spell it either, so that's okay. Just click the link in the show notes. It's a yes. Nice Guys link, and you'll see it. It's at the tail end of the show notes under Jordan's contact information. Before we take a right turn out of here, I would love to know, just because we're dealing with a lot of entrepreneurs, startups, people in our organization that, or in our audience and community that have grown their own businesses. As a business owner, yourself, you probably deal with a lot of the same, if you could coach yourself, what would be the thing that you are coaching yourself on? Is there something specifically that that you'd like to do differently, or maybe the stuff that keeps you up at night? I know, staffing, team, sales, all that stuff keeps me up at night. So what's the stuff that keeps you up at night?
So funny, because I have a principle. I'm also very principle based myself. Surprise, surprise to nobody. We all kind of suck at doing the thing we do for others for ourselves. So I actually have my own business coach, even though I know these things and work with people to help them on their businesses, because it's very hard to apply things that you know to your own situation. Just nature. So that's really it for me. Like, what keeps me up at night is that I'm missing important stuff for my business, and I know I'm not doing things that I could be doing or that I should be doing, or I'm not prioritizing properly. I'm not following my own system. And so I try to surround myself with really smart people. That's one lesson I learned early on, was like, being an owner is lonely. So surrounding yourself with people who are either as peers, who are in the same situation as you, who you can bounce things off of and be in the same kind of spot with the same kind of problems, that can be really helpful. And then bringing in people who can really get to know your business and be in your corner with you, helping you be successful, can just move you so much further faster. And again, whether this is me or someone else, doesn't matter. Just make space for somebody else to be helping you with your business. Trying to do it all yourself is incredibly hard to do, and you're just making it unnecessarily hard. Just that little bit of someone else being able to bounce things off of and probably tell you things you already know, to be frank, but just hearing it from somebody else can get you unstuck from so many problems that you could spend weeks or months hitting your head against the wall trying to solve. So that's it for me. And I'm constantly trying to look for blind spots where I can bring in people to help me see things that I probably should be seeing, but I'm not.
Well said. And at a level of transparency that I think is really nice in the Facebook world that we live in, where everybody is so great and things are perfect. So thank you for sharing that. And I'm looking forward to getting some positive feedback from my community. Again, thank you for being on the show, and thanks for sharing your message and your inspiration today.
Yeah, this has been fantastic. Thanks for having me, Doug. This has been a blast.
Hey, Nice Guy community, never underestimate the power of nice. Again, special thanks to Jordan Labelle. All of his information, including that link that I'm not going to spell because it's got Nice Guys in there, but you'll see it. It's right there in the show notes. You know how to get to the show notes. If you don't know how to, ask your mom. Your mom knows how to do it. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
For the Nice Guys on Business, I'm Steve O'Brien. Fill up your week with the Nice Guys. Well, there's always money in the banana stand.